And good evening. Welcome to this October version of the Commissioner's Oversight of Policing Services. I am delighted this evening to be joined for the first time by our new Chief Constable, Alexis Boone. Hello.
Good evening, everyone.
And Alexis, you come from the Met, haven't you? So tell us a bit about your first, what has it been, 7 weeks now in Hampshire?
Yeah, it's been wonderful getting to know the constabulary and getting out and seeing members of the community and our partners. I've been really thrilled to have such a warm welcome and really enjoying it so far. It's been a wonderful experience and getting, looking forward to getting to know more of you as the months and years go ahead.
And I have to say, the hours that you've been working are incredible. I don't think he's barely been home since he started in Hampshire 7 weeks ago, but I think getting out and speaking to all of the operational staff has been really, really positive. Right, so just to remind you, and I just was filibustering slightly there whilst people are joining, this is being live streamed on 3 different Facebook pages. It's being live streamed on the Constabulary, the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Constabulary Facebook page, also on the Office, the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Office of the Police and Crime Commissioner Facebook page, and also on my Facebook page, which is Donna Jones, Police and Crime Commissioner, on my Facebook page too. So if you're seeing questions that we're answering, and I'm referring to questions, I've got my laptop here, so all the questions that you're submitting through the live stream, through the different Facebook pages, if you're seeing me answering questions but you think, well, that's not on the live stream that I'm on, it's not on the Facebook page I'm on, it's because we are bringing questions in from different areas. Please do put all of your comments in the chat function on the various pages, as I say. Please do try and refrain from referring to any live police investigations or anything that's too specific, because of course we are here to talk about crime and for me to hold the Chief Constable to account by taking your questions and putting them to him. But at the same time, as I say, it's difficult for the Chief to be drawn on anything specific because he won't necessarily have the up-to-date information about that particular investigation to hand. But thank you to those of you who pre-submitted questions. I think we've had over 100 pre-submitted questions. We've clumped them into antisocial behaviour, traffic-related stuff, shoplifting, and all of the bits that you would expect. So I'm going to get started with that straight away without further ado and start putting some of those forward. And before we do get into the questions, I just want to say a really quick thing to you as well about the tragedy that's been unfolding in Manchester today. Clearly, our thoughts are very much with the family of the deceased people, and we understand that this is causing real concern across the country, and that will include communities here across Hampshire and the Isle of Wight. It is a period now for some reflection to really find out what's happened, to allow the appropriate authorities in Manchester to be able to give us those updates in due course throughout this evening and over the following days and weeks. Chief, I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that as well.
Yeah, I was saying if people are concerned or worried about this, please contact your local bobby or your local neighbourhood team and have a conversation. We're very much out there engaging with communities. We've got neighbourhood teams out there talking to people, understanding and supporting people through this. We're, of course, watching very closely the national events to see if anything impacts on our area. At the moment, it doesn't seem to be the case, but we are watching closely. And if you are concerned, please do make contact.
Thanks very much. Right, okay, so the first 10 or so questions I've got have been submitted to me around police visibility. And for the next 10 minutes or so, I'm going to take our pre-submitted questions and then I'm going to start to go to the ones online just so that you know, to give people a chance to join and to give people a chance to put things down, for example, on the Facebook pages. So first one is David from Warsash says, the PCC asks us every year to contribute extra council tax for policing. However, I believe the extra resources are diverted to the Southampton and Portsmouth City hotspots. We need resources locally, especially in the Hamble Valley and the Hampshire unitary charges. I think he means across those councils. So I'm going to just quickly start with that and then pass to the Chief. Well, you're absolutely right around police resources going everywhere, and the Chief Constable can fill you in on some of that. I have funded 815 more police officers over the last 4.5 years. That was my commitment to you. And 3/4 of those have been recruited so far. I have brought back local bobbies, which I did in January of 2024. before, and I funded another 15, so that was 99 local bobbies, and another 15 that I funded this year, and the Chief is in the process of recruiting those new 15 at the moment and putting them into locations. And finally, places like the Hamble Valley are very important, which is why I have already announced that I'm going to be opening the Meon Valley Police Station. The Bishop's Waltham Police Station is going to be reopening back to the public with a new front counter opening there in the spring. And in fact, I've signed off the budget for that and the programme to start imminently. So you'll see the contractors going into the Bishop's Waltham Police Station very soon. But anyway, over to you on the police numbers.
Yeah, certainly. I know obviously that this is often a concern, I think, from particularly rural communities, that resources are drawn into town centres in and around Hampshire and the Isle of Wight. I would just like to say that actually we have a geographic policing model that makes sure that policing is heavily embedded in local communities, whether that's in urban areas or rural areas. And all areas will have a neighbourhood policing team, some local bobbies and specialist resources to support them. So we're very, very careful to make sure everyone gets a degree of policing. We don't actually move resources around all the time. We try and keep things dedicated locally. Of course, there are incidents and events that happen that might mean that we need to move resources to support large-scale public order or football. But actually we're committed to making sure resources are in local communities, dealing with the things that you care about and listening to you and showing that they are actually doing those things you care about. And we will be watching that closely. If you've got any concerns, please do obviously contact your local bobby, your neighbourhood policing team. We're there to help and support you.
Thanks very much. Okay, so moving on then to a question from John from Chandler's Ford, who says, when we have a police station again in Chandler's Ford or in Eastleigh? And there's also a question from Dylan that's come in online, which says, can we expect to see more regular patrols in Chandler's Ford? So I'm going to tie those two together. Quick start from me about the police station, and then I'll come to foot patrols in Eastleigh and Chandler's Ford area and to the Chief. So yes, I am in negotiations now with an organisation around taking a whole section of an existing building in the Eastleigh town centre, where I hope to be able to open a front counter and also to have not only the neighbourhood policing teams based there, but some CID, so detectives that would be working on crimes particularly committed by the people of interest in and around the Eastleigh borough, so the council borough area, and also potentially the district patrol teams also working from there, so those people who are responding to 999 calls. And I am hoping to be able to have a front counter in that new police station too. We've been thwarted with issues around buildings. Eastleigh town centre is laid out in such a way that parking is a problem with some of those high street locations. Some of those shops that have become available have not had adequate parking for the police and for the police cars, and that's where we've been on a slight delay there. But anyway, over to foot patrols in and around Eastleigh.
Yeah, I think it's really wonderful that actually we're looking at procuring buildings in that space, because this is all about going into communities, not retreating from communities. We're going forward into communities, and that will give us the opportunity to mount resources there that can go out and patrol and be very visible in town centres. Just so you're aware, particularly in those town centres, we are committed to making sure there are regular patrols, that officers are out there, that they're visible, dealing with antisocial behaviour, dealing with shoplifting, dealing with the crimes that make those areas difficult for members of the community. We are committed to doing that, and you will see officers out and about in those areas. And with that additional estate, that will help really project us into communities in a way that we haven't had the opportunity before.
Thank you very much. If you just joined us, please do keep your questions coming in. We've got over 100 viewers now, over 100 questions also pre-submitted. So do keep your questions coming into whichever Facebook page you are accessing this live stream from. As said before, please do try and refrain from any specific ongoing police investigations. Right, so moving on then, Jodie has said, how are you going to get more local bobbies in Basingstoke?
Yeah, so in relation to Basingstoke, I've been out actually with the local bobbies team and with the neighbourhood policing team. They take their role extremely seriously, and I've seen them out talking to shopkeepers, speaking to members of the community, listening and acting on what they're told. So I think you've got a really good team there in Basingstoke anyway. We're always looking to try and support them, and there are proactive teams that support them proactively doing work to prevent crime in the background and assisting. But we are absolutely committed to making sure Basingstoke's got that great presence. As I said, I've been with the team. I think they're really professional. They're really good, and we're always looking to try and make sure that we improve what we do. So please, if you do see a local bobby out and about in Basingstoke, one of our neighbourhood policing team officers, please do approach them, talk to them, because we're very reliant on you, the community, for our intelligence and our insight. If you don't talk to us, we don't necessarily know some of the problems and the issues you're facing. So a real appeal for me, do come and talk to us. When my officers are out and about, they look forward to it, they enjoy it, and they actually get a great deal of intelligence and really target the problems that matter for you.
Fantastic. And just to say as well, in Basingstoke, there's actually a lot of police assets in Basingstoke. It's one of our 3 big key hubs in the county. Not only have you got the Police Investigation Centre, the PIC there in Basingstoke, that has got lots of detectives, lots of specialist teams, front counter and police custody, which is really important. But also we do also have a police base that is opposite the council building, Basingstoke and Dean Council building, where you've got the 909 responders, and you've also got neighbourhoods working from there in the town centre as well. Priority crime teams and a whole load of other people. Right, so moving on, Mark from Botley said, what are the police doing about vehicle crime? Effectively, there has been an increase in vehicles being broken into at night, especially trade vehicles, having their tools stolen.
Yeah, I really feel for people when their tools are stolen. You know, that's affecting people's livelihoods and trades, and it's really important that we get on top of that. Fortunately, in the most recent months, thefts from motor vehicles have been going down. It may not feel like that, of course, to some people who have had their tools stolen or their car broken into, but we are focused on this. It is a priority, particularly for that area as well, and the neighbourhood team are looking to work with partners to problem solve that. We've certainly dealt with some interesting incidents. We've actually dealt with an organised crime group that was targeting the east of the county in the Botley area, and in one night crime spree did a lot of crimes. We identified them, arrested them, prosecuted and charged them, and put it out there in our social media to give people confidence that we take this sort of crime seriously, which we are. Although motor vehicle crime is going down, we're not complacent. It is a priority, and we'll work. So our neighbourhood teams will work with our road traffic policing unit and our other resources to make sure we continue to target it, using ANPR to target vehicles that come into the area and criminals that are stealing from the vehicles. We'll be doing a lot of work, continuing to do work around motor vehicle crime. It is a priority for us because we know it impacts so many of you, and it's so important to your livelihoods.
Yeah, fantastic. And also, we are the host force for the National Vehicle Crime, aren't we? Do you want to explain sort of?
Yeah, so we've got the National Vehicle Crime Unit that develops intelligence and capability around tackling motor vehicle crime. So actually, in essence, we've got the experts on our doorstep to give us advice to help us deal with this crime problem in the most innovative and different ways that you can deal with motor vehicle crime. So it's really a real asset for this county and for the Isle of Wight to be to have that unit in amongst the police, giving us advice and support.
Yes, fantastic. And last year they had a brilliant success where they had recovered, I think, £11 million worth of stolen vehicles that had been stolen 7 or 8 years ago in Thailand, and they were, I think, all bar one were recovered and brought back to the UK. It was quite extraordinary. Anyway, so moving on then, got Andrew from Gosport basically says, and I'm just the last couple now on the police visibility, and then I'm going to move on to a new theme. Andrew from Gosport says, throughout Gosport we have a PSPO, a public space protection order, in place, but it seems that nobody in authority is willing to enforce this consistently. Try walking down the high street at various times of the day and see how many individuals are drinking publicly and or sitting or lying on the floor outside the shops. There have been some marshals patrolling, but things don't seem to be changing.
Yeah. So it's there for a reason, isn't it? It needs to be enforced, and we need to be on top of it. As do our local authority partners in this space as well. As you mentioned, there are other wardens and others that should assist us and help us in policing this. I would say, particularly in that area in Gosport, and particularly the Clear Hole Build initiative we had, you know, the Not in Our Town community crime initiative, that has made a difference and reduced ASB and violent crime in Gosport significantly, but we're not complacent at all. So we're going to continue to focus on ASB at key times of the day and night. But also, I would just like to say, really, I guess, for Andrew, if you do want to see it in action, Marcus Kennedy, who's the local district commander, is more than willing to take you out on patrol and show you what we're doing and actively engage with you and give you a demonstration of the hard work because there is a lot of hard work that's been going on in Gosport, and I think it's made a real difference. But we're not, we need to make sure we continue to enforce that and deal with the problems that the ASB and the violent crime.
Yep. So Andrew, there's an offer for you if you want to go out with the police in Gosport. Marcus Kennedy is the district commander, but if you, whichever Facebook page you're on, if you want to, we'll make sure that we're sharing the right email address for you to email in so that you're able to arrange that as well. So thank you for your question. It's a really, really important one. Okay, this is a question, you'll recall that I opened the new police station in Petersfield just before you started in June, and Gavin from Petersfield has said, can I ask if there has been a reduction in the level of crime since the Petersfield police station, that was a mouthful, was opened?
Well, fortunately, yes, there has been a reduction in crime. So if you compare the July, August, September last year with this year, there's been a 16% drop. So that's quite noticeable.
That's really good.
And I think really it goes back to the answer I gave earlier, that when you've got a police station and you can project local presence into communities, it does make a difference. Of course, it's early on for us to definitively draw the correlation, but it looks pretty promising. But we've got the teams there, the CID and others making a difference, being visible, being seen, engaging with the communities. I think it's a really great thing, and it's making a difference. So yes, a drop has happened, which is really pleasing to see.
Yeah, I'm really pleased about it. So, those market towns are so important to us, and that's why opening front counters and police stations in places like Eastleigh, in Yateley, in Topton, reopening front counters in places like Portsmouth as well. They've been so important. Ryde on the Isle of Wight, again, a lovely little town, but it does have its crime issues, particularly antisocial behaviour, which I'm going to move on to very, very quickly. But before I do, I've got a question here from Connor, who says, what's it like to be a police and crime commissioner? Well, varied. This evening doing something like this. Today I've been in estates meetings for most of the afternoon. As I said, signed off the budget earlier for Bishop's Waltham front counter. This morning I was at a public meeting in Gosport. I met with about 100 pensioners, and that was fantastic. Yesterday afternoon had a meeting with the Home Office, and then from there went to a public meeting last night with the Denmead WI. So for me, because I represent the public, I am there connecting, listening to their voice all the time. Last night and this morning are good examples, bringing that back into force, discussing it with the chief, relaying what it is the public feel, whether it be about noisy motorbikes, e-scooters, speeding traffic, you name it. There's a whole load of topics that the Chief Constable and I have covered this week alone. This is the third time I've seen the chief this week. And so, that's my job, is to be representing you, and I really enjoy it, and I feel very, very privileged to be the custodian of this role for the period that I'm here. Right, so moving on then, Dean from Cowes has said, police legitimacy is key in maintaining confidence, support and trust, which we absolutely know it is. Police Commissioner Donna Jones has been clear that her priorities align with the public's priorities. Non-crime incidents are not a public priority. Prevention and detection of crime are. Do you commit to being an innovative chief who places his operational resources in alignment with the majority of public expectations of what the police should be doing with their time?
And the very short answer to that is absolutely yes. We fight crime. I had a meeting with all my senior leaders earlier in the week, and I just reaffirmed the mission that we are here, first and foremost, we are crime fighters. That's what we do. That's what we're about. That's what we will focus on. We're not going to be focusing on non-crime. We've got some really good processes to make sure that we do deploy to crime-related incidents. Yes, there are some other incidents we have to deploy to as well, but not such as mental health. But actually, crime is where we're going to focus, and I've been really clear with my team that's where we're going. So, in short, the answer is yes, of course.
Fantastic. Okay, I'm going to take a couple of the questions online, and then I'm going to go back to some of the pre-submitted questions around road safety and speeding, and try and weave in, excuse the pun there, where I can, between those online about speeding and those that have been pre-submitted. But before I do, Rosie said, she asked a question around what is the best thing that you can do to ensure that you pass the police interview rounds, and are you going to be doing larger scale recruitment drives?
A really good question, thank you. We are recruiting. The doors are open to Hampshire and the Isle of Wight Constabulary. We're looking for good quality recruits. So if you are thinking about a career that is entirely different to anything else you would have ever done, please do make contact with us and think about joining. I think what is the best advice for a police interview to join the police? I think we recruit people for who they are. So if you've got good values and you've got sensible principles, you will do well. Just be yourself in the interview, come across naturally, talk to us about what matters to you, why it's important to join the police, why you want to help people, because that's what we're here for. We're here to help people and solve problems and make things better for communities. So if you come and you have those values and you act you are yourself, you will do well in a police interview. It is about fighting crime. That's what we're about. Please do make contact if you're interested in joining. We would love to have a conversation with you.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. Right, I'm going to move on to some of the traffic stuff now. So I'm just looking down at the laptop I've got here in front of me with your questions coming through online. Philip from Gosport, can you please tell me when more action on so-called boy races and cars and motorbikes with noisy exhaust will happen? And I'm also going to, on a similar one to that, I've got here around why are the police scared to deal with stolen motorbikes? That's come from Steve. And Max, what will you be doing about the speeding of cars and other vehicles? So speeding, stolen bikes, and a little bit there around the boy races with that chromium type stuff.
Yeah, so just to be really clear around stolen bikes, yeah, we absolutely will take action. If we can identify stolen bikes, we'll look to retrieve them. And of course, if we come across them in our road traffic patrols, we will, if it is safe to do so, of course, pursue and make sure we go after those people that have stolen bikes. It is very frustrating when you have your motorbike stolen, and I know there is that does happen across the county. So we're keen to make sure we do tackle it, and we're not scared of that. Just to reassure you, we are not. We will deal with it in any way we can. Just around the boy races, as you put it. We have Chromium, which has been incredibly successful. We've identified over 200 offences last year, so we dealt with 200 offences. And that's nearly £10,000 worth of fines, 49 cases progressing through court, lots of disqualification over 12 months, extensive court costs for those that fall foul, and we're using our powers to seize vehicles. It's been an incredible hard effort and drive by my officers and staff, and we've had a 50% reduction in car meets this year. So I think hopefully you'll agree that's incredibly successful crime fighting, and has hopefully made a difference to some of you. In relation to noisy exhausts, I don't think the powers are good enough, to be frank. The maximum penalty is about £100 fine. It's not endorsable, and it takes a lot of resource to uncover it. But of course, when we're targeting areas where bikes are speeding, if there is an opportunity to deal with it, we will. But it's not the greatest deterrent. I'm sure you'll agree. £100 fine, that's not really going to go down particularly. Not really going to really make a huge difference. In terms of speeding through communities, I know that is really on a lot of people's minds, particularly I know in some of the rural communities where people are going through at a breakneck speed. We have lots of capability in the force to tackle speeding. We identify data where accidents happen, where there are incidents. We also listen to community sentiment where people are concerned that there is speeding going on within their area, and the range of options we've got working with local councils to put speed measures in place to prevent speeding. We've got community speed watch. If you're interested in that, we can give you more details. We've got our neighbourhood police officers as well, have been trained in use of laser devices to help detect speeding. We've got a new enforcement motorcycle where basically you can take it to areas where you can't normally reach it in vans and cars to deploy speed detection devices. We've got enforcement vans, we've got road traffic policing patrols as well, and lots of operations in hotspots. So lots and lots of activity around speeding. And we deployed recently into an area where there was speeding in near a local school. And we got lots and lots of people identified speeding, including people going 49 miles an hour in a 30-mile-an-hour zone, which is completely unacceptable. So we are absolutely targeting speeding in the right places at the right times, and we've got lots of capability to do it.
Lovely, thank you very much indeed. It is a really big issue, and I'm just going to bring in a few more questions here on the same theme. So I've got Steve from Petersfield saying, What are the police doing on a practical level to manage the speed again on rural roads, so rural communities? Lee from Havant, speeding and tailgating and aggressive driving in our area. William from Dibden, stopping speeding in the New Forest. Is that possible to install some chicanes? I'm going to come back to that in a second. Neil from Denmead, residents are concerned about the speeding between Hambledon Road and Greatmead in Denmead. And David from Bentworth and Alton, why are the police not supporting town and parish councils in their attempts to reduce speeding in our county? Well, I'm just going to quickly give you some updates on a bit of that around the town and parish council and the chicane stuff. So clearly any civil engineering solutions, and very often that is the best solution to reducing speed, is some form of chicane, speed bumps, whatever it may be. Clearly not something that either the Chief Constable and I have any jurisdiction over. That is for the Highways Authority. Now, this week, the Chief Constable's Chief Superintendent, who heads up our roads policing unit, I met with him yesterday and with one of the superintendents and with the Chief Inspector of the roads policing unit, Emma Hart, and we were going through a whole suite of things that I'm looking to deliver alongside the Chief and his team. Now, you'll recall that when in my new policing crime plan that I wrote and published last July, August time, it had 3 new priorities in it, and that was after my re-election. One was about tackling shoplifting, one was about making our roads safer, and the other one was about rural crime. This is on top of the previous priorities around increasing police visibility, fixing the 101, bringing crime down, and recruiting more police officers. So, an update on the road stuff from my perspective. One of the things we were going through yesterday was setting up a fund, and I'm about to launch a fund that's over £500,000 that means that town and parish councils can bid in for speed reduction measures through their area. It could be some of the SID signs, the speed indicator devices. It could be through setting up a community speed watch with the community speed watch gun. And there are other things that we can do to try and help, what I'm going to be running through my office to try and help you to reduce speeding through towns and villages if that's what you want to do, and of course in the cities too. In addition to that, I'm talking at the Hampshire Association of Local Councils AGM. I think it's in the week after next, and I'll be rolling out some new information for them. And one of the things we were working on yesterday with the Chief's team was around the reintroduction of speed cameras, and particularly how that could work in towns and villages as well. So stay tuned for information. I will be putting out press releases, and I will be, as I say, speaking at the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Association of Local Councils AGM in the next couple of weeks. So I'm going to move on from traffic related items now, because we've had quite a bit on traffic stuff, and I'm going to move on to rural crime. First question here is from Laura in Yateley, who says, youth crime has become a serious problem. We've seen catapult attacks, fires, vandalism and damage to homes and cars and community spaces. What action will you take? And a second one on rural crime is from Alison in Crawley in Winchester, who says, I run Crawley Neighbourhood Watch in Winchester. I wonder if you would be, adding to the rural crime. I wonder if you'll be adding us to the rural crime task force. There's quite a gap with no personnel in the north, in the Neighbourhood Watch part of the county. So I just wonder whether you're able to come give us a bit of an update on some of the rural crime initiatives.
Yes, certainly. And in relation to Yateley, yes, we're aware of some issues there as well. And particularly, I think a school broken into, and also those reports of firing catapults and damage to windows. In fact, we're still actively investigating those to try and identify those who are responsible. So still ongoing work. And of course, a bit of an appeal as ever. If anyone does know anything, please do let us know. But we are working very carefully with our local bobbies, neighbourhood policing teams, and through using intelligence to try and identify who those people are. But we are taking that incredibly seriously. Also in Hartley Witney area as well, we have identified a young person who is a perpetrator, and we're working with partners to deal with him. He's been using catapults for ASB. And really, we do need to address that. We're working with lots of partners in the community and representatives from Hart Rushmore in the town and the rural, basically to work through different ways of tackling crimes. In relation to the Winchester question around the task force, the rural crime task force, it's actually a county-wide task force. So it goes across Hampshire and, of course, the Isle of Wight. So it's not fixed. It can go anywhere. And, of course, we do deploy it to problems across the county. And that Rural Crime Task Force really are an effective team. I met with them at Bishop's Waltham only the other week. They are highly motivated, capable, some of our very best officers, really proactive. They're out there stopping cars, responding to incidents, planning and executing proactive operations, targeting groups and individuals committing rural crime across a range of different measures. We've got lots of initiatives, from dealing with plant theft, dealing with hair coursing, dealing with poaching. We've got operational activity in all those areas. So I think the addition of the Rural Crime Task Force, funded by the Police and Crime Commission, has made a real difference to communities, and you'll see many more excellent results coming out of that. So I think you'll find that we'll go from strength to strength in enforcing crime in the rural areas. But as I said, it is a counties-wide resource, so we go where the problems are. It's not just one area. So your area will be visited if there is a problem and an issue there.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we've still got over 120 people online. We're halfway through. So thank you all for your questions and for submitting them. We've got some really interesting ones coming up now. I'm coming towards the end of the pre-submitted ones. I'm going to go on to antisocial behaviour in a minute. So if that's your thing, I've got a couple of questions on antisocial behaviour and some that have also come in online. But I'm just going to cover a couple of the quick, easy ones off that have been pre-submitted. So Bill says, I've just heard the Chief Constable mention contacting your local bobby. A friend of mine tried to contact our local bobby in Porchester. Apparently the named officer is no longer the local bobby. No information given as to who the new one is. A call to Fareham Police Station was told to look online. It wasn't very helpful. Thank you for that feedback, Bill. We'll make sure that all of the district commanders, and they basically cover policing districts completely aligned to the district boundary of your local council, your local authority. So we'll make sure that all the district commanders ensure that their local bobby details are updated. Liam says, will Eastleigh be getting a full-time police station? Yes, it will be. It will be a full-time police station with people working in there. Sometimes people are working in police stations 24 hours a day, particularly if they've got detectives because they're working shifts, and if they've got the 909 responders because they work 24 hours a day as well. And with the front counter, yes, we are anticipating that Eastleigh will have what we call a hard front counter, which means that it'll be open more days than others, but we'll be sharing that information with you in due course. There's a question from Kevin who also says, how will you make better use of your stretched resources?
It is a very good question, and something that's been occupying my mind and talking to my team about. There's a few things we can do. We're embracing technology, so robotics and AI, to try and make our processes simpler and easier for our people, essentially to free up their time so they can be out on the streets more. So that's one thing we're doing. We're also using ANPR and other technologies to really focus our activity on those individuals and those locations that cause the most harm. And when I say harm, it's those, the serious offences, but also those volume offences committed by the hyper-prolific shoplifters or rural criminals that cause misery and mayhem in communities. We're really focused on them. So actually, by targeting individuals, targeting the right locations, we can have a real impact on crime. So becoming more targeted is actually a way of using your resources in a smarter fashion. We're also trying to work with partners to reduce the amount of non-crime demand that's coming into the police service, because actually you want us fighting crime. You don't want us dealing with calls of concern at certain addresses or mental health incidents. You want us dealing with crime, and that's what we're here for, and that's what we're trained to do. So forever trying to reduce that amount of non-crime demand coming in so we can actually deal with the issues that matter to you.
Right, got a couple of quick questions on antisocial behaviour. First one, Ben from Martha Worthy in Winchester says, we've all seen the rise in antisocial behaviour around the theme of patriotism and nationalism in the last few weeks, with St George's Cross graffiti and vandalism prevalent across the country and beyond. What measures are being taken to control this form of antisocial behaviour, and what reassurance can you give to intimidated people who may be fearful of this behaviour?
Yeah, I think we've all seen it wherever we live. I think some of these the graffiti on the roundabouts and the zebra crossings, and the mess it makes when people drive through it as well, quite frustrating mess. But of course, doing anything like that, painting on roundabouts or zebra crossings or other fixtures and fittings, that's criminal damage, clear and simple. If we see it and we can identify the people responsible for it, we will take action. We will deal with it. I think in terms of those that are feeling insecure or that their safety is threatened through the current times, I would say again, reach out to your local neighbourhood policing team, reach out to your local bobby, have a conversation. We're there for all communities, to support everyone in communities. We don't want people being fearful of walking out on the streets for what may or may not happen. We will be working very closely when we have protests. We're very mindful to engage with people locally, to talk to them about it and try and make sure our policing operations, the way we police, is in a way that reduces that fear, reduces the anxiety and supports local communities. So we're very conscious of that and very keen to talk to people if they've got things to raise or they think we could do things better. But we're very keen to make sure that everyone feels safe.
Thank you very much. And just to, because I've had some casework on this as well over the last couple of weeks, just to reiterate that the flying flags on lampposts and other things is a matter for councils and not for the police. And the same, the roundabout stuff, whilst that's criminal damage, the actual clearing up of that is then obviously a matter for the Highways Authority, which in most cases reports to Southampton, Hampshire, or the Isle of Wight councils, who are the Highways Authorities. Just sticking with antisocial behaviour for a minute, Ellen from Gosport says, I know a poorly sighted retired woman who recently had her white stick taken and snapped by teenagers who also hurled insults at her. How do people deal with intimidation and physical assault from children, especially in the fear that a child will report the victim if they do so much as touch them?
I think we've seen that playing out across the media, haven't we, recently? And I think in relation to that incident, I just recommend it gets reported. If you can encourage the person to report it to us, I've got absolute confidence we will take action in relation to that. So please do come forward and encourage them to report. As I said again, sort of the clear whole build, not in our town work. The antisocial behaviour patrols that we've had going on throughout Gosport, through the summer, through the neighbourhood policing team, I think have made a difference. But we do need people to report things to us. If it's not reported, we can't take action. We don't know that it's happened. It sounds like an appalling incident, and very much would like to help if we can. Report.
That's the key thing. And you can obviously do that. Crime and Action 999. If not, if it's happened, it's an incident that's happened 101. Or if you want to do it quicker and easier, you can go online and report it through the constabulary's website. And just so that you know, the online home, the landing page where you report the crime, that has been a recurrent theme where people have fed back to me that is not very user friendly. As I said to you before, it's prescribed by the Home Office, that landing page. However, when I met with the Home Office yesterday, it is one of the things I took up with them. They're looking into the online home update page, and they're going to come back to me. And in the meantime, the Chief and I are looking at our options here locally from an IT perspective as well. So moving forward, the question, I think this is for me, what is happening with the CCTV in Eastleigh? Well, the good news is it's not going. It's going to be upgraded. As you know, I offered £50,000 to the local authority, to Eastleigh Borough Council, who have submitted the bid about a month ago. I've approved it, and they are going to be upgrading those cameras, and that is going to make the town centre significantly safer. It really does help having CCTV. We know that not only is it a deterrent for people who want to commit crimes in and around the town centre, but secondly, if and when incidents do happen, it's a brilliant tool for the police to then be able to carry out investigations and very often identify people. So yes, the CCTV in Eastleigh is going to remain, which is really, really good news. And thanks to the council working in partnership, which is really what it's about, really. A question for you here, just sticking with this sort of theme of antisocial behaviour, and this is a bit drug related, but drug vehicles from Sean, who says drug, vehicle and rural crime all seem to be linked to organised crime gangs. What more will be done across the county to deal with this?
Yeah, it's a really interesting observation, and you're right. Some of that sort of crime is actually is local and very locally relatable, but actually some of it is, as you say, serious and organised crime. So what we're trying to do in the force, we've got a serious and organised crime capability, an intelligence capability that sits behind neighbourhood policing and supports them tackle some of these issues. But also we have a South East regional crime team who will take on the bigger investigations and operations where we need to go cross-border, where we need to go national, where we need to tackle the problems. And of course, above that, we've got the NCA as well, with their capabilities to tackle serious and organised crime. So one of the great things is we've invested in intelligence intelligence in Hampshire and the Isle of Wight Constabulary. We've invested in people to deal with serious and organised crime, and we have now the links through intelligence, through capability to deal with some of those serious and organised crime problems. And we have any number of operations ongoing at a time to tackle those serious and organised crime problems. The handlers, the people that are stealing cars, putting them on crates to go out of the country, to be shipped to Europe, to be sold. We're tackling those sorts of problems, those sorts of issues. Importation of drugs, that then hit our streets across the counties and cause misery. We're working with the NTA, we're working with the serious and organised crime team to tackle those issues. And we do need to make sure we keep our eye on that, as well as the local issues that are impacting people.
Yeah, really, really important. And we've got some excellent people working in our regional organised crime unit as well. So next question, this is quite an interesting one. What are your plans to support victims of identity theft? And that's from Tim.
Yeah, in terms of identity theft, I think through Action Fraud and through the website, there are ways of reporting that. If you need advice around identity theft, then please do make contact, and we can make sure we direct you to the right site. So identity theft in its own right isn't necessarily a crime, but actually what happens with your identity and the fraud that can be committed or the issues that can occur certainly can be are a crime that we need to deal with and we need to investigate. But there's advice available, and what I can do is provide the link so that you've got that afterwards, so you've got the site to go to get the advice and get the support.
And anyone who is concerned about that particularly, I would say also get in contact with your Member of Parliament, because there are legislation changes that I think actually are required to update legislation to make sure that it actually reflects the harm and the threat. And as the Chief has just said, that actually it depends why you're using someone else's name and identity, and it has to be linked to a crime for the police to get involved. But for some people, it can be extremely distressing, and in some cases, form harassment as well. Moving on then, a question for me, I think this one is aimed at me. Do you agree with the process of privatising the police force by supporting extra security in troubled areas like Shirley? So the answer to that one, and I will put this to you as well in a moment, Chief Constable, do I agree with the process of privatising the police? Absolutely not. The police are a key public service paid for by taxpayers, and as far as I'm aware, there are no plans to privatise the police service anywhere in any part of Great Britain. So I don't understand no concerns at all from me about privatising the police. In terms of the security, well, I'm given money from the Home Office to work with local authorities, and that there's a whole host of ways local authorities can work with either community wardens, with security guards, and so actually I worked with Southampton City Council because of the situation in Shirley High Street. What we wanted was a multifaceted approach towards solutionising that problem there of that sort of predominantly female-led urban street gang that were working across the Shirley area, committing both crimes, community criminal damage, the racially aggravated abuse towards people working in some of the stores there as well, theft and other things, and some threatening behaviour. Now, not only have the police stepped up patrols there, one young person is currently in youth detention, one is going through the criminal justice system, and another 3 or 4 are under investigation. There has been a significant drop. I think one incident I was aware of in the 4-week period after the intervention that I'd been involved with Alex Charge, the superintendent who oversees policing in Southampton. He's in charge of the policing there. But it has been a multifaceted approach with the local authority, who thought that some security there to particularly protect the shops themselves, and also some CCTV, and that's what I funded to support them. But it's certainly not a privatisation of the police. The police have been patrolling in that area, and that will continue. Any particular comment from you on that one?
I think dangerous road to go down, sort of privatising the police personally. The level of training expertise that officers have is sort of second to none, I would say, and I don't think there is a ready replacement of that. I think as well, you want somebody you can trust, somebody that has been through the processes of vetting and all the other things that we have to reassure communities that this is a person to be trusted and respected. So I think it's a dangerous course to go down, to be frank.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we've got 18, just under 18 minutes left of you, and we've still got lots of questions coming through. So thank you to the 120 people who are online. If you have just joined us, don't worry, you'll be able to watch back the whole hour-long session. We'll be sharing it through all of the Facebook pages I mentioned earlier, and we'll also be able to email out a link to anyone who'd like to watch it in their own time as well. So moving on then to a little bit here about drink and drug driving. I'm going to do two questions together here. Susan says, when will a zero tolerance approach be implemented for drink drug driving? And then the second question was from Tim, who says, are there any plans to increase the number of road traffic police officers across Hampshire because they seem like they're quite low?
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of drink and drug zero tolerance, I mean, that obviously that's the levels are for the government to set, of course. But what I would do is reassure you that if we come across somebody we suspected has been drinking or on drugs, we will test and we will check. And if they are found to be over the limit, then they will be arrested, or having used drugs, they will be arrested. So it's very clear for us that that's important. Drink drivers, drug drivers wreck lives, cause misery for families who live with loved ones when there are collisions and avoidable accidents. So absolutely zero. It's really important for us to enforce that. In case in the other question was again.
The other question was around increasing road traffic officers.
Yeah. So at the moment, no real plans to increase the number of road traffic officers. Albeit, if you probably saw some statistics across the country, road traffic policing has slightly reduced across all areas of the country. We've got a very good, strong unit in our joint operations unit where we work with Thames Valley. We're going to maintain that, make sure that they are out across our roads, and we've got a huge road network across Hampshire and the Isle of Wight, a really busy road network. So we will still be maintaining our unit and focusing on those things that you care about. The dangerous drivers, the speeding, and the issues that affect you. So no plans to increase at the moment. We will maintain it, but we know how important it is to you that you have a really strong, robust traffic policing unit.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we've got a question here around, if you have clear CCTV of antisocial behaviour around your property and you report it, why don't the police request the CCTV? Well, there is a system now where the police are asking people to register if you've got Ring doorbells or CCTV at your property, is to go onto the constabulary website and to register that you have that CCTV. So if there is a car theft or a burglary or an incident in your road, then the police don't have to go door to door knocking to try and get that evidence of that crime that's taken place perhaps in the early hours of the morning, but they can look on a system and see who has it. If, Lisa Marie, you've asked the question, you're saying that you have had an incident of ASB, you had the CCTV and the police did not follow that up for you. If you want to get in contact with me, email address is on the Police and Crime Commissioner Facebook page if you're watching through that one or through my one. Get in contact with the OPCC email address, let me know, and then I'll get someone within the Chief's team to look into it and get back to you. Moving forward, we've got a question here from Jodie that says, can we get some help with how many young people basically carrying knives, and how can we get more of them to hand them in? Well, actually, there are some very good schemes, and there's twice a year, I think it's May and September, there is a national operation called Operation Sceptre, which is where we are encouraging people to come and, through knife amnesty bins, to surrender knives into red locked wheelie bins that are in police stations. And the police also do heightened stop and searches during those 2 weeks of intensification per year. Having said that, police officers are hyper vigilant to those people who they think are habitual knife carriers anyway, and they will work on intelligence and they will stop and search. I'll come to the Chief in a second on this one, but because of the importance of the red amnesty bins, the locked wheelie bins that we have in police stations, and the fact that they were out for 2 weeks a year, about 18 months ago, I sort of said, well, you know what, I'd actually like them to be out all year round in some of our bigger police stations in the urban areas where knife carrying is more of an issue. And so we have got them. You can look on the constabulary website. I'll see if I can get a link shared on the Facebook pages as well, so that you can have a look at where your local knife amnesty bin is, so that you can go and surrender a knife 300 365 days a year. That is something that you're able to do in those police stations that open all year round, or every day of the week, sorry, and they are in our bigger police stations, predominantly in the cities as well. So there is help and support available, and I do pay charities to go into secondary schools to talk to young people about the dangers of carrying knives, but clearly a real issue across our communities. What's your approach and thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think, sadly, from where I came from, I'm very used to dealing with the ill effects of knife crime and the damage it does. I think it is tackling the glorification issues that are online, making sure that there's a counter narrative to that. I think, as the Police and Crime Commissioner said, it is getting into schools, making sure there's really good engagement, people explaining the consequences of carrying a knife, because people don't realise it can be used against them if they carry a knife. I think it's just showing the consequences. If you do get jailed or you commit a serious offence using a knife, what happens to you? We deal very robustly with knife offenders. We visit habitual knife offenders. We do hotspot policing. We do focus stop and search in those areas as well. And we're very successful at identifying areas where knife crime occurs and targeting them. For example, we did some work in an area where we did 29 stop and searches, seized 3 knives and arrested 1 person. So we do this on a regular basis. But I know the damage it does to communities, particularly young people, is awful, and that's why we'll remain focused on it. And the government's got a target to reduce knife crime by half, I think, over the next 10 years, and we will continue to do so. Just to give you a bit of reassurance, this year versus last, it's decreased by 11.6% across our counties. So there's some good news there that it is actually declining. But again, we cannot take our eye off the ball on this one. And we must remain committed to tackling it with partners as well. The BIU that the Police and Crime Commissioner runs, the Violence Reduction Unit, and also local councils, health authorities. We've got to do everything we can. It's a whole system effort to reduce knife crime.
Right, we've got about 10 minutes left, so just going to canter through a couple more. I've got Nin says, Fareham police teams are really proactive, bobbies are on the beat, and on the website their mobile phone numbers are available. So thank you for the feedback, Nin, that's good to hear. Sean says, how about encouraging the youngsters not to wear balaclavas out and about on the streets? They do intimidate people. Well, that is a good point. It is not actually illegal to wear a balaclava. Do you want to just clarify what the law is around that for us?
Yeah, so you can wear a balaclava. That what I would say is, though, that it might be that linked with their behaviour or other factors that then give us the grounds to either stop and search them or stop and talk to them. So there'll be things, police officers are out there and they will assess the situation, and we will deal with it if we've got grounds to do so. But often we need the public to report this because, not necessarily in the winter sometimes, but in the middle of summer, if you've got people going around in balaclavas, let us know. We're interested in that. Let your local policing teams know, because that could be deeply suspicious behaviour, someone preparing to commit an offence. So we do want to know. But yes, as the Police and Crime Commission says, there isn't a law there, but it might lead us to suspect that something is not right, and we could use our powers to investigate further.
Yeah, thank you. And Christine says, Donna, do you have a grant available to help us in Rushmore and Aldershot with the issue that you're aware of? Christine, I can't recall the issue off the top of my head, but I do have an antisocial behaviour fund that individuals, community groups, police officers, PCSOs, councils, councillors, MPs, anyone can fit into it. If you go to the email address, which is on my office Facebook page, it is opcc@hampshire.police.uk. But it is, as I say, have a look on if you Google Hampshire Police and Crime Commissioner, go to my official Commissioner website, office website page, and it's on there. And then we can send you the link for the email address for the Antisocial Behaviour Fund. There's a 2-page application form. You fill it in, and bids are normally anything from £500 up to about £15,000, and I have funded street lighting, cutting bushes back, youth diversion programs, speed indicator devices. I've funded all different sorts of things, so I hope that helps. Dave says, zero tolerance approach towards mobile phone users, please. I'm assuming he means driving and in cars.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely we do. If we see it, we'll enforce it and deal with it. I mean, you do sadly see quite a lot of accidents that are caused by people's inattention to the road and the fact they're using a mobile phone. There is you can report if you capture footage of somebody driving with a mobile phone, hopefully not with your mobile phone that you're using whilst you're driving, of course, but you capture footage, you can submit it to us, we can assess it and see whether there's an offence, and we can take action as well. So if you go to our website, you'll find that there's an opportunity to do that if you wish to. That's the same for dangerous driving, careless driving. If you ever capture it, on your dash cam in your car, we will review it and take action if we can. But there is a zero tolerance to mobile phones. It's 3 points on your licence and a fine, and it's extremely dangerous. So we do take action when we see it.
Yeah, thank you. And we've got about 7 minutes left. So I'm going to end with some questions around e-scooters and electric bikes and some of the horrible antisocial behaviour and the horrible intimidating behaviour that people who are walking in pedestrian areas, town centres feel when they have e-scooters coming up behind them. But before we get on to that, so if you're interested in that, stick with us. But before we go on to that, I just wanted to read you this question from Kevin, and this is very poignant to something that was on Panorama last night on the BBC. How do you stop the recruitment of bad Apple police officers, as revealed in yesterday's BBC programme about police abuse at Charing Cross Police Station? And of course, that's a police station that you all know well, having come from the Met.
Yeah, and I think, let's just get it out there now. The behaviour is disgusting and absolutely reprehensible. As you've seen the Commissioner go out very live and publicly on TV to condemn it, and rightly so. It undermines trust and confidence in policing, and nobody wants to see officers like that in policing. There are a number of things we can do. First and foremost, there's vetting. So looking at their background and making sure that they've got nothing there that suggests they hold misogynistic, homophobic, racist views. If you're looking at social media, you can sometimes see that people are connected to certain groups that would not be compatible with policing. But actually and realistically, we do rely on internal reporting and members of the public. There is actually a line sponsored by Crime Stoppers to report poor police behaviour. We have internal reporting mechanisms, and we've done a lot of work educating our officers and supporting our officers to make reports, whether it's anonymously or otherwise, to identify these people early. It also relies on leaders knowing and knowing their people. So we really drive line management engagement to understand and know their people. But essentially, it's a zero tolerance approach to that, and we will continue to root it out in all of policing. I think the one thing from the documentary that was slightly positive last night, if you watched it, was one of the appalling custody sergeants was actually reported by a female officer. And that's the sort of thing we want to see, where people see the behaviour, witness it, report it, and then it can be dealt with. I think it's the internal confidence of people to report that's so important, or members of the public who interact with officers who don't think they're right for whatever reason. They do need to tell us. But I would just also say that the majority of police officers are out there working incredibly hard, dedicated, and actually in custody it can be really a challenging environment to work within. Violent people, people suffering mental health, drug withdrawal. My officers do a fantastic job day in, day out dealing with those issues. So I would just like to really reassure you that the majority of officers I come across are highly professional, dedicated, and want to help you.
Yeah, and I'd just like to reiterate as well that in the 4.5 years that I've had the honour and the pleasure of being the Police and Crime Commissioner here, I have met the most outstandingly brave men and women, police officers and police staff members who work so hard and are so dedicated. And I can tell you there is no one more offended than bad behaviour by a police officer or a police staff member than their own colleagues, who really take it, it's a real affront to their profession and to the job that they want to do. And so often people that are in this job are drawn to it because they want to help people. It's a bit like working in the medical profession, being a doctor or a nurse. You do it because you want to help people. And it was a very sad documentary last night. It's one of those programmes and one of those incidents that has rocked policing actually today. It's not nice to see. But what we must also quantify is that you get bad people in every profession, whether that be teaching, medical, train drivers, bus drivers, you name it. And sadly, because of the power that comes with being a police officer, because of the warrant card that you have, it is policing have to be hyper vigilant towards how they deal with that. But I'm really pleased with Hampshire and the Isle of Wight Constabulary that we've got some excellent people. And I think in slightly smaller police forces like this, of course, the Met is enormous. It's much harder to hide in a police force with 6,000 employees as opposed to a police force that has what, 35,000?
45,000.
45,000, there you go. 5 times the size of any normal police force. So it's much harder to hide in this force and do that, and long may that continue. So moving on then to e-scooters, we've got 3 minutes left, and I want to play you a little video at the end as well, just to remind you of our Operation Crush. But I'm not going to go through all the questions because there are several about e-scooters, but if you presented that question today or presented it beforehand, submitted it, thank you. We know they're an issue. We have actually had people, I met with a lady from Parkgate who was actually knocked over by an e-scooter last year, and she came to see me about 2 weeks ago, and it has affected her life so dramatically. It can be really intimidating, particularly for older people who are hard of hearing or hard of sight, when these very, very quiet vehicles are coming up behind people, particularly on pavements. What more can be done around this?
Yeah, I think we take it really seriously as well. We've seen about 400 e-scooters and e-bikes over the last year, and you know they are very dangerous, and we need to make sure that when we see them we can tackle them. They can also be used to facilitate crime as well, robberies or snatches of phones, so very keen to make sure we're on top of those. And what I would say is, if you are involved in a collision with an e-scooter, please can you report it to us if you sustained an injury. But we need to know and understand that so we can identify where it's happening and then target the issue appropriately. But I absolutely see the problems there, and I've seen some of the injuries, and it's horrendous. So we are focused on it, we're targeting it, and we'll continue to do so.
And just so you know as well, I've got a road safety campaign that I'm going to be running with Portsmouth City Council, Southampton City Council, Hampshire County Council and the Isle of Wight Council, so the 4 highways authorities. I had a meeting with the cabinet members and the highways leads, the lead engineers, civil engineers, last week. We've got a whole campaign, and we're going to be running a whole series of things over the next 6 months in conjunction with the road policing unit in Hampshire and the Isle of Wight Constabulary, all about how to stay safe. So why you shouldn't be using your mobile phone, why privately owned scooters are illegal in public spaces, and a whole load of other things. So please stay tuned on that as well if you are interested. Thank you so much for being with us this evening. As I said before, the recording of this Commissioner's Oversight of Policing Services will be shared on the 3 respective Facebook pages that it was advertised on. That means you can watch it back in your own time. We are very, very grateful to the public for their support, and I'm going to leave you with the update video on Operation Crush, which is the way that we're dealing with electric bikes and scooters that are being used for illegal purposes. Thank you.
Electric bike.
I'm here today at the Silver Lake Garages in Shedfield in Hampshire, and I'm really pleased to have signed a contract just about almost a year ago to be crushing electric bikes and scooters, and these are modified electric bikes and electric motorbikes and e-scooters that are seized by the police across Hampshire and the Isle of Wight.
So we're here today from Hampshire and Isle of Wight Police Roads Policing Unit with the Police and Crime Commissioner Donna Jones on the first anniversary of Operation Crush.
We know these kind of bikes and e-scooters are often associated to crime, whether it be knife crime, transporting drugs, antisocial behaviour, or in fact road traffic offences.
Our message from the Roads Policing Unit is that we will focus our resources and target the criminal use of these vehicles, dangerous use of them, and also antisocial behaviour with them.
So it's really important that for me as Police and Crime Commissioner, listening to what the public have told me, we are getting these vehicles, we're getting these e-scooters, these modified electric bikes and modified electric motorbikes off our streets.
E-scooters are not legal to use on the roads. You may possess them and use them on private property with the permission of the landowner. However, if you venture onto the public roads with them, you will be committing an offence, and if you come to our notice, then we will use Op Crush in order to deal with that.
And police officers will be regularly stopping young people using these and anyone using them across our communities to make them aware that without insurance you're breaking the law, you need to get off and you need to push it home.